Good afternoon, everyone. Today in Astitva Prakashan podcast, we have Dipanjan Chakraborty, sir. His book Kashi, Echoes of Eternity, is recently released, so we are going to discuss about it. So, first of all, sir, welcome to our podcast session. Sir, can you give us a brief introduction about yourself?
Yes, I'm Dipanjan Chakraborty. I am actually the co-founder and chief scientific officer at Zinnia Life Sciences Bangalore. We have a small company. We are into the healthcare segment in India. We deal with something called as autoimmune neurology diagnostics and also certain neurology-specific uh, healthcare solutions like supplements, etc. So we've been 5 years into this industry. So that's on the professional side. Basically, I am from Kolkata. I have grown up born and brought up in Kolkata, although I have studied in Bangalore and then worked in various parts of India, in Bangalore, in Ahmedabad, also briefly in UK. That's been my journey professionally. But currently, I am based in Bangalore.
Okay, sir. So, you described Kashi as a presence rather than a place. So, when did it first begin to live within you?
Actually, much before I actually visited, uh, much before I actually visited that place, right from my childhood, I've grown up with stories from Varanasi, from Kashi actually, partly because my maternal grandmother, she hailed from that place. That was one. Secondly, you know, many Bengalis from Kolkata, they stay in Kashi for various reasons. They have stayed in Kashi for years together, in various places dating back 300 years. So that has culturally come into our literature, our cinema, quite a lot. Particularly, I'm an ardent fan of Satyajit Ray. So I've grown up seeing his films, read his stories, read many other stories about Varanasi. So that Kashi had already lived within me since those times. Um, Particularly in films, a couple of films. One was a film called Oporajito, which probably you would know that is the second part of the trilogy of the Apu trilogy, the famous Apu trilogy, which came after Pather Panchali by Satyajit Ray. That entire film, the backdrop was Varanasi. So that was my first introduction, actually. And then after that, there were other films, very famous Bengali detective films. There's a cult figure called Feluda, which we read and which we grew up with. There are multiple stories which were based out of Varanasi. So those were my initial introduction. I've never been to Varanasi till then. I went to Varanasi for the first time probably in 1994. But I have grown up with these stories and film much before that. So it has lived me, and I've seen that city as a place of my what should I say, a place that I always wanted to travel long
Yes,
before I had actually visited.
yes, sir. And sir, what did photographic Kashi teach you about yourself than that words never could?
Um, Probably the power of listening, the power of not acting, but to just listen. That would be my biggest learning from that place, because that is a place where time almost, stands still. Unless uh, you pause, unless you take a deep breath of that place, you cannot really understand what Kashi is all about.
Yes,
No
sir.
one can understand. If you have a set of tick boxes that I have to visit these places, these temples, and whatever it is, and then come back, that's never Varanasi for anybody. So the
Yes,
biggest learning would be of this, that the ability to pause, the ability to listen without talking, without being rushed into certain explanations is probably my biggest learning from my place.
definitely. So, sir, my next question would be: do you believe a city can remember those who loves it deeply?
I think so. Yes, definitely, but not in the way the humans remember. Human memory is more programmed to certain chain of events or certain memories, certain spatial distribution, but not a city. Kashi can remember
Yes.
who were just but it's that remembrance is probably in continuity. What I mean by that is, uh, once you go there and once you become a part of the place and once you repeatedly go back, uh,
Yes.
there's no coming back. Actually, it's almost like a continuation that you've never left.
Yes.
There's nothing to reintroduce you again, just that you see the city differently, see the place differently. So not just Kashi, yes, definitely Kashi, but other places which has a historical, mythological places of interest. For example, cities like, say, Jaisalmer, for example, in Rajasthan,
Yes.
cities like or just say Lucknow, for example, Calcutta itself. Those are the places where there's a lot of history, there's a lot of past which goes into it. And therefore,
Yes.
when you keep coming back to these cities, it's as if you have never left. So that way,
Yes.
I definitely feel that yes, a city can definitely, remember you, particularly if you are someone who has gone to just to observe the place and not to tick off, as I said previously, certain places of
Yes.
interest. Yes,
Yes.
definitely it can remember.
Yes, sir. And sir, over 3 decades of longing, did Kashi change or did you?
A bit of both. I changed more. Kashi still has that permanence, still have that timelessness. Yes, it has changed in terms of it becomes off late. It's become slightly bit more. I won't say commercial, but because there are certain make believe events, a lot of glitz and glamour being, sort of forcefully pushed into the soul of the city,
Yes.
which was not there 15, 20 years back. So that is the only change. But otherwise, Kashi is more or less, timeless. It is more or less the same. And therein lies the beauty of the place. That's why I'm fascinated. I have changed
Yes.
a lot. I've evolved a lot. I wouldn't say change. Change is probably not the right word, but I've evolved quite a lot.
Yes.
I have become far more calmer, far more observant the to the daily humanities and how it unfolds in that city.
Yes,
So
sir.
that way, definitely, I have evolved over a period of time. How I used to look at Kashi, say in the 1990s, I don't do it now. When I went there just 4 months back, there's a different way of looking, different things to look at. The same routine things, the same, probably the same Manikarnika Ghat or the same Assi Ghat, the same akhadas of Kushti, the
Yes,
same
sir.
Ahalbai Ghat. But there are
Yes.
different ways to look at it. As you grow old, you look at Kashi slightly different. So definitely, I would have evolved over a period of time. But Kashi, more or less, as I said, has remained timeless.
Yes, sir, definitely. And sir, you say Kashi resists being captured. Why do you think some truths refuse permanence?
Truth refuses permanence, probably. Um,
Mm.
if I've understood your question correctly, see, permanence probably diminishes reverence, if you understand what I say.
Yes.
Anything which is too permanent, the reverence to it actually diminishes. And therefore, it resists, permanence, the truth, some truths, that is. Um,
Yes.
I'll explain that a little bit more. For example, when you continuously go to a place time and again, one time, two times, 15 times, 20 times, you look at the very definition of truth a little differently. What was absolute truth to me 15 years back is probably not so now. And therefore, you just don't hold a place or a being or somebody
Yes.
as just permanent and just blindly revere. No. So that resists to capture it as a city, capture in the sense that you can't own that place. You can't own Kashi. You just go, you observe, you be with the flow of that city. And you will understand once you go there 5, 10 times, you'll understand that it is completely different from any other place in India. And I have been to almost all places in India and abroad, but there's nothing like Varanasi actually. Probably because there's a flowing nature to it. So there is no permanence, there is no reverence. So you cannot capture it once. For example, if I'm a photographer now, if I take out my camera and point towards, say, standing at the Darbhanga Ghat and pointing towards the Dashwamedh Ghat, every time would be
Yes.
different. You can argue
Yes.
that the same, people are coming to take bath in the ghats, there are rituals happening, but every time the stories are different. So therefore, is that essence what you're asking, that it refuses to capture? Capture is, once you capture somebody or some place, is forever yours. It can never be with touch. You can
Yes, sir.
just have encounters. You can have multiple encounters with the city, but you can never own that place, never capture it permanently.
Yes. Yes, sir, definitely. And sir, what moment behind the lens felt more surrender than control?
I think I think at the time of dawn, just before the sunrise, uh, there's a term people in Varanasi use. They call Subai Banaras. So Subai
Yes.
Banaras is that the Banaras lives in its morning, in its dawn. Uh,
Yes, sir.
you have to see to live that early morning. In fact, before early morning, the dawn in Varanasi is completely different. It's as if uh, everything has come to a standstill, and you're
Yes.
waiting for something to happen within you internally. That's the essence. So the question that you're asking is that's surrendering rather than trying to capture anything. I would just wait. There's nothing, there's not a series of events happening at dawn. It's not like
Yes.
in the morning time, you will see that there's a bustling activity in the ghats. There's so much to capture, so much to make photographs of, so much stories to tell in the form of pictorial representation. Being a visual artist, you have the tendency or the inclination to rush towards many things, which over years it has taught me that that should not be the way at all. That's number
Yes,
one.
sir.
But at the dawn, at the time before the sunrise, that rush is not there. So you're absolutely calm, you're absolutely within you, and you're trying to absorb, or you're trying to just let it be
Yes.
for half an hour, 45 minutes before the sunrise. That is the time that you absolutely surrender to that place and don't try to overdo things. Don't try to, don't have a checklist that I have to make so and so image. I have to have an image with the boat passing by. None of those checklists. Those moments will come to you eventually, but definitely at the time of dawn, that's the time of complete surrender.
Definitely, sir. And sir, how does silence shape your way of seeing and composing an image?
Silence plays a big part in my photography. If you've read my book, if you've gone through my book, there's an
Yes.
entire chapter which is called a Shunya, and the caption is "In Search of Silence."
Yes, sir.
Um, See, silence is something. When you're seeing a film as a different medium of expression, as a different medium of art form, you're not only seeing visual, you're seeing them moving, you're also hearing. There's a soundscape, you're hearing to a lot of sounds or the lack of it, the background noises, people talking or not talking.
Yes, sir.
But in a photograph, the dimension is not there. There is no audio impact. It's only visual. So in that format, how do you capture silence? Or how do you
Yes.
portray silence? I would not use the word how do you capture, but how do you portray silence?
Yes, sir.
Personally, particularly now at this stage of my life, I'm completely in love with silence. I search solitude a lot. I crave for it and absolutely love
Yes.
solitude. But at the same time, um, while photography, you have to have elements which can portray that silence. For example, there's a very favorite photograph of mine in my book, whereas a man is just lying, actually sleeping, kind of on a small pedestal. Which, if you go to Varanasi, you will see there's this small pedestals on the Ganges, just on the banks. It's a man is sleeping, and there's nobody else. And on the
Yes.
far end, on the other side of the river, you have few people who have just
Yes.
started to do their chores early morning. So when I was there, that silence struck me because there was, other than just very faint rippling of the rivers, rippling of the Ganga, there was no other sound because it was absolutely early morning at the time of dawn. But that was, I was hearing to it. Now, you as a viewer won't be hearing to it. So I have to portray that silence in the form of a photograph, but that silence would still go and hit you. Now that's the challenge as a visual artist. Many people have shaped my understanding of how to portray silence, right from multiple filmmakers, great cinematographers, great photographers
Yes.
I've seen their work for years together and try to bring in that concept of silence. So yes, so that's the main component of my photo. I just love portraying silence, even if there's an action. For example, even there's a bird flying. I also do a lot of nature photography. Even
Yes,
if
sir.
there's a flying across and there's nothing else in the frame, still there'll be an element of silence that you can, portray into your
Yes.
body of work. So yes, it is very important, and it is going forward. More and more, I would like to portray silence as a very important aspect of my photography.
Yes, sir. And sir, was there a photograph that almost broke you emotionally while creating this book?
Not a single photograph, not a particular photograph that I can think of, but there have been many events.
Yes.
For example, I've encountered a person whom I have never ever met him uh, during my 20-25 times of visit to Kashi. There was this gentleman, a sadhu, who had his ashram somewhere in Prayagraj, some 40 kilometers from Prayagraj. So he was fleeting encounter with
Yes.
him. There was a fleeting encounter with him. He was just passing by and he just looked at me
Yes.
and asked me, "Beta, aap kahan se ho?" So I just looked at him and I thought I should stop and talk to him. I don't know the reason, uh,
Yes.
but there must have been some emotional connect. I don't know what was it, but
Yes.
I've never met him again. Now, there are a couple of photographs of him in my book. As I spoke to him, he readily agreed to come with me to a boat, and he said that this early morning uh, I would come with you in a boat and have some discussions. Now, those discussions are not, those are very personal. Those are not for sharing in this forum. Whatever I had discussed with him that morning, and that will remain with me forever.
Yes.
But these kind of fleeting encounters are not something that you plan. So these images are extremely emotional. Uh, I would not put a finger to it and pinpoint why it was so, but you could feel a connect that
Yes.
I was meant to meet him uh,
Yes.
for whatever the reason was. And after that, I have been to Varanasi and another 6, 7 times. I have never met him again, although keep seeing familiar faces who are around the ghats, but never met him again. So those kind of
It was
instances,
meant to
yes,
be. Yes. Yes, sir. It was meant to be like that, we can say.
exactly.
Yes,
Yes.
sir. So, sir, my final question would be if there is any message that you would like to give your readers through this book or by yourself, what would it be?
I think to pause. Today, we are living in a world which is not just fast, but it is also slightly radarless. We don't know where we are going, where we are going. We're almost in a state of a perennial overwhelmed state of mind. What I mean by that is there's something other which is always stimulating us, whether it is, as they say, kids these days say, doom scrolling your mobile, whether it is Instagram, Facebook, or whatever. In our work, we're continuously chasing something, running around meetings, timelines, deadlines.
Yes.
Even if you're not working, there are so-called stress. A lot of people nowadays, believe that their life is stressed for whatever reason. Uh, Whether there are enough reasons or not, that's a different question. But uh, so all this while, so what it makes is that we are always behind something continuously, rather than taking a pause and taking a deep breath and just hold back. Life should not be taken that serious. That's what I
Yes.
feel. So that is the message that I also try to give through my photographs. Whether I do
Yes.
uh, photography, I don't that quite believe in genres of photography, as I've mentioned in my book. um, I'm quite fluidic in terms of what is a portrait photography to a street photography to a documentary photography. Those lines merge, those boundaries merge. As I said, I do a lot of nature photography. I am absolute nature lover. But whatever is
Yes.
the case, there's nothing that needs to be done at a breakneck speed. So my
Yes.
message would be just to take a step back. Sometimes just gaze at the water. Some just gaze at the moon, or just sit. Don't try to uh, explain everything to you. Not everything needs to be explained. There are much more in life that needs to be just observed and let it be. And the same message I want to pass, and I try to pass through my photographic work as well.
Definitely. So, thank you so much, sir, for joining me on this podcast session. It was such an amazing experience to get to know about you, Kashi. It was a really amazing experience.
Thank you. Pleasure. Pleasure being with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.